Oh, let's see if we are actually live and not pretending to be live. We're live.
Awesome. I see something happening there.
So I don't know at what point it actually started the live, but we're live now.
Okay, good. Good. I'm still not seeing it, but I see that I actually added something to you. Let me
let's just see. I see it now. I see it says 3 watching. We're live. Okay, let me turn the sound down on that. If you're here, can you just let us know you can actually see us? Because I did a different setup today. So, just so you know, so we know. And we'll just hopefully wait for somebody. Yes, no, maybe.
Okay. I just had to take my AirPods out because they hooked up to my phone.
Oh, no.
So I'm going to hardwire myself in for sound. So I just need a minute. I love how we can I have a new computer, so it's not there anymore. It's on this side. I know what I'm doing.
I show us being live. I show people watching. Let us know that you're here. I'm going to go with yes, we are, because I can see it on the channel. Can you see it yet?
Yeah, I can see it.
Perfect. Yeah. Perfect.
Awesome.
We actually did it.
We did. And so,
tried something new today, and this is what happens.
And I see two people are watching with us, and I'm just there. Okay, I see the live chat.
Kristen's saying she can see us. Perfect. Yes. Thank you, Kristen.
You can see.
All right.
Perfect.
Here we are.
A little bit of a bumpy road, but hey, we persevere.
That's been my week, a bit of a bumpy road. So
which
welcome
leads us
everyone.
Yeah.
Which then goes directly to, as we were just signing in, and I said, what do you think about talking about this? Because, I have guilt around this. So Deborah Epstein and myself, Larissa Russell, are here, Connection with Spirit, and welcome everyone. So you may be able to hear that I am sick. I'm actually on the mend. My voice is somewhat back, and I can talk. I have saved up for this. And I said to Deb when we both signed in, I said, there seems to be this perception that the more connected you are to spirit, or the more connected you are to healing work, that you shouldn't get sick. And it's just not true. We get sick. And, yes, I can talk to spirit. Anybody can talk to spirit. Yes, I do healing work. I still need to do healing work for my own self. It's still a journey in my own life. Mm-hmm. And you had a good point, and I wanted you to save it till we started, Deb, about, that perception of the fact that we shouldn't get sick if we're healers.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, what did I say? But I was sharing about Ken Wilber's book and how his wife died of cancer. And while she was on that journey of cancer, they would get all kinds of advice and comments. And, that, like if you're a spiritual person, there's got to be some reason you're not doing something right, or, you're failing at something, because we're, here to have happy lives and blah, 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 whatever. But we're spirit and we chose to have this human experience. So we don't get to bypass that. We don't get to bypass being human. Why else come here? So I don't know if that's exactly what I said, but it is like one of those like topics for me. And we have that like fantasy that, okay, now that I'm a spiritual person and I've got all this stuff going on, that life is now going to be perfect. And that's actually, it gets a little harder, because spirit work is really hard work.
It's tough work.
It's hard work. Right. Yeah, because you get to look at, I don't want to say have to, but you get to look at if you're doing your work and you're not bypassing, because that is actually spiritual bypassing. I'm spiritual. I'm up here. That's ego too, by the way.
Yes,
ego
exactly.
says I'm up here and nothing touches me. Nothing's going to touch me because I'm spiritual. And no. I'm sorry if that's the impression that you got, but That's not how it works. And the sad part about that too, is that there's a lot of judgment in that. And so when you are, in the public eye, right, you're an influencer, people see you and you're sick and you feel that judgment. It's like, yeah, then you get that guilty feel. And so that's all that's showing you really too, is like, oh, it looks like I get to work on this feeling too.
Well, and I hadn't really thought about it too much until somebody made a comment. And then I was like, and then I was like, oh, now I am starting to feel a little guilty. And then I was like, wait a second. And so that's when I was like, I need to have this conversation, because we're doing the work is hard work. And I do believe, that a lot of our dis-ease and what we have going on in our body is connected to pain and trauma and things we need to work through. But there's also things that we have contracted for this lifetime that we may have to go through that we don't get to change, right? Because we've already made that decision. And there's also things that we still ignore, even if we're on the healing path, the spiritual path. There's still things that we don't want to look at, and so we don't, and different things like that. And I have had a little bit of a reminder this week that I still push myself too much, even though I talk about this all the time in, with the feminine divine and the feminine energy, and about rest and self-healing, and about not having to produce and do. And I'm a healer. And these are things I talk about all the time. And I still push myself. I have to do more. I have to get it done. Because it's so ingrained in us. Yeah. And so even though I know in my head, in my heart, even in my being, this is not how I want to live my life. I don't believe in this system. I still get caught up doing it. Right. Yeah. And then I get sick and I get a reminder.
Yeah. Yeah. And even in how you're sharing it too. And if you don't mind if I kind of pick at you a little bit.
Of course. Yeah. No, I'm open to that.
Awesome. So, and when I'm in that position, I will be open for you. But I mean, it's even in your languaging too, how you're sharing it is you can hear underlying that is the guilt of, I still haven't gotten it yet. Yeah. And it's really interesting to me too, because there's places in my life that I do the same thing. And that's the driver. That's the driver. That's it's not saying like, hey, go do more. It's like there's not enough voice in there, right? Like, and then we get it. It's so interesting. I feel like I'm jumping around because I'm like so excited, but I'm
always open to that, because I like to look into things, always.
Yeah. It's just so interesting to me too, because we're so driven subconsciously in our actions, our behaviors, our thoughts, and how we speak about something. And even like you're in this place where you're going, yep, I know I need to rest. Well, first of all, you're showing up live. Yay. I'm glad you're doing that. But like, you really should be taking a nap, right?
I canceled everything today so I could do this. Just so you know,
so
I canceled
she's
everything
reserved. Yeah. So you've reserved, right? So that's the other thing too, is how you manage it. And, it's so funny because like I'm doing kind of a similar dance. Like I have a coach that's like really helping me with this issue, and I've been working on it like the whole year, which I think when I started working with her, I really didn't know what I was going to be working on, but I do know, like, I was really frustrated in my business, and I felt like I was just like working all the time and hating every minute of it, and like hating my life. And I was like, should I even be in this business? Because I am like so resisting it all the time. And, I started to look at it from different angles. Like, well, what do I really love about it? Well, I love connecting with people, and I love talking with, people like yourself. But what do I hate about it is all the work that goes on behind it, but that was the same reason, like when I was just a painter, like in my early days when I was just a painter, that was my same reason. What I didn't like about the system. is that I have to do this marketing stuff and I have to reach out and I have to talk to people. I don't want to have to do that,
I feel like, you're in my head. Yeah.
So it's like, it's so funny. We're just so funny that way, right? You could say it's the good with the bad or the polarities of it. And that's kind of what I've been platform I've been teaching off of the last, I don't know, few months or so, is like the law of polarity and the opposites. And I think I started teaching from that without knowing I was teaching from it. And then I started to become really consciously aware. Okay, this is what I'm doing. And it's so related to art, because sometimes when we're making, especially if you're working abstractly, right? You're starting off with like maybe an emotion that you just can't describe, or situation, right? So we do healing art. So like you're in this situation right now. And so you just go, well, all right, I'm going to take my brakes off and I'm just going to make something and let my soul speak through my art to myself. Right. And you don't really know, like right off the bat, like, what does that even mean? And maybe you do another one and another one. And after a while of doing it, it's like, the light goes on. It's the hardest. I think one of the hardest things about soul work is that 90% of us is driven to the surface, and we're awake enough to know it, but then we're trying to figure out, well, what is that freaking program that's running anyway? Because I keep getting these results, right? I keep getting these results. Like, I don't know if it's a, one-time thing for you, or I'm like, oh, I'm always getting burnt out. I'm always on the edge of burning out. And what I've kind of discovered for myself anyway, with that, is that it's freaking the story I'm telling myself underneath. And that story is draining my energy. So it's not, I'm actually like right now creating more than I've ever created in my business. And I'm like kind of marveling at it because I'm not tired. And I'm going, what the heck was I doing before? And even Kristen Booth is here. She even said something to me this morning about that. Like, oh my God, you're doing so much stuff. I'm like, I know, isn't it crazy? I feel like I am doing a lot, but then it's once the behind the scenes stuff is done and you're showing up and doing the thing that you love to do. That's the thing that feeds you. And so then I go, okay, well, it's finding, what do I need to more efficiently do the behind the scenes work that, really takes up the time, and kind of, to be honest, isn't always the most fun thing.
Yeah. And I feel like I'm in that transition now. Right. And this is just that one more reminder, getting sick is that one more reminder, because I, recognize I cannot keep spinning my wheels like this. Right. Because I love working with people. I love the group coaching sessions. I love the creative sessions. I love meeting and talking to other, healers and creatives. That's where I get my spark from. And so the behind the scenes thing, it's taken me a lot to recognize I don't need to do it all. I don't have to be the person that does it all. And so now it's like, okay, I'm ready to let go. Let's find the people that are ready to step in. And so that's what I'm working on. So I'm actually training some people right now.
Awesome. Yeah.
So we have a new social media manager, a new customer service person. So, these are the things that are happening so that I can start to do the things that feed me.
Yeah.
More.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. See, you're already on your way.
It's always a process, right? Because it's like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. Like there's this whole thing that we do our whole lives. And I think any time that we're working on ourselves and we're digging under and we're trying to find cause and effect, but really it's more like our purpose, and then what holds us back from that purpose. It's really, the more we sort of dig into that, the more we have to do the work around it.
Right. And then how much of that is a story, right? That I'm supposed to be, it's who says you're supposed to be over here by now, and that right where you are isn't the right place.
Mm-hmm.
And I went on a journey the other night, and it's so interesting that this is coming up because I almost forgot about it. So like I think it was about a year ago, I was working on that painting right there. That's Grandmother Red Hawk. And she's been a guide for me for a really long time. And when I moved to Sedona, I would sit out on the fire by the fire pit. I'm pointing at it. So our fire pit is out there at night with the fire going. And I'd like go into meditation, and I would keep like hearing this kind of old woman's voice. So it got more pronounced when I was here. And she would say things to me like, oh, you're, making blue corn muffins, bring me a blue corn muffin. And, so like I'd go out in the land and do some stuff with her. And so, but then when I was painting her, I just had this intuitive hit to like, is there really a real Grandmother Red Hawk? Let me look it up. Let me see if this is really a person, that I'm like, because she's very real to me in my mind. Well, there is a person named Grandmother Red Hawk, and her real name is Priscilla. I can't think of her last name, but she lives in Asheville, North Carolina. So I looked, followed her to her website. She does readings using a method that she was taught. She's trained in Lakota Native ways, and also this type of African, I can't remember what it is, an African shamanism kind of thing where they do divination. And so she has this little cloth that she made with handprints on it and like a medicine wheel kind of thing. And she has all these shells and stuff. And so I sent her a shirt of mine that I wasn't, was ready to get rid of. And so it had my energy in it. And we met on Zoom, and she takes my shirt and she just kind of stirs up all the stuff. And then she does a reading for you of like how everything lands. And one of the things she said to me was about how I'm holding on to my medicine. It's like I'm sitting on my medicine, and there's a lot of medicine that I'm sitting on. I haven't released it all yet. And part of my job is to connect with my ancestors, and my ancestors will be my guides to help me release my medicine in the world. And so flash forward to the other night when I go on another journey, and I like all of this just kind of dropped into my awareness again. And I was remembering that, and I was feeling this medicine starting to come up through me, and like where I'm at right now. And I go, wow, this is really cool. I'm releasing my medicine, like it's coming through me, and the work I've been doing with my ancestors. And I kind of go like, well, I could be doing more, of course, that's my human.
Yeah.
And, I should have done this sooner. Like, that's kind of where I was going with it. I was like going into the remorse of like waiting so long to let it out. And what one of my ancestors said to me was, it's always divinely timed. Don't you know that? It's always divinely timed. And so I just, and even I say it again, and I get that feeling of relaxing.
The chills. Yeah.
Yeah. It's almost like my body goes, oh, I can't mess this up. I'm doing all the things that I'm supposed to be doing. And the medicine flows when it's ready. It's just like when you take medicine into your body, right? It knows where to go. It's so magical. How does it know? Right? But there it is. And it's like, that's what I mean about like, what is the story that we're telling ourselves? And it's, of course, for me, it's like, I'm not enough. I'm not doing enough because I have a really hard driver, it's not
I am quite a test driver.
That's probably why we get along. One of the many reasons. We're like peas in a pod.
I think so. Yeah.
It's not perfectionism, although it was, I think at a certain point, it's not anymore. It's like there's a sense of urgency underneath it, because you see what's going on in the world. And if you're coming at it, I think too, from a place of like, I'm not enough, I'm never going to be enough. You're just going to naturally work harder to compensate. So there's a compensation to that. So it's like, that's the law of polarity, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Right. We go to the opposite end of the spectrum. And instead of alleviating that feeling of not enough, it generates more of not enough.
And it's so interesting that you say that, because I've done so much work on that. I'm not enough. right? I mean, I was definitely fed that my whole life, my whole life. Some people know some of my family story, and I don't talk to most of my family because of the traumas and things.
Mm-hmm.
And so I definitely have come from that place, and I've worked really hard at understanding the sort of the gifts that I have and what I have to bring to the world. But I do still, of course, get caught up in some of because it's been so conditioned. And so as much as you try to let it go, and I 100% believe in, what I'm doing and where I'm going and what I offer, but that still comes back as a residual messiness that as
Yeah.
much as I scrape it out, it just hits me in the head once in a while, right? And it's
Yeah, but then what does it do? Because you're such an open channel, and you allow people to see you. You're very, very vulnerable and honest and transparent. It first of all teaches others, get off the freaking story. First of all, we all have that. You're not special, right? Yeah. And I don't mean to say it like that, but I mean,
yes, I know what you mean.
It's you're modeling something. So even though I have this not enoughness within me, right? Mm-hmm. Just because I'm spiritual, and I think this kind of hooks back into what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. Just because I'm spiritual doesn't mean that goes away. And it mm-hmm. doesn't mean I'm doing something wrong. If anything, I'm doing something right because it keeps coming up for me to see it. It shows me other places where I have it. Like, who would have thought, like, I wouldn't have thought on the surface that I had that story of I'm holding back my medicine and I'm making the world wait. And it's all because, it's all because of me that we're in the mess we're in, right? Because I'm playing small or hiding something when mm-hmm. it's really just the divine timing. Mm-hmm. Right. And it's, we get to be human. We get to have these experiences, and we get to move through them. And I think that's part of like the leadership that mm-hmm. we're showing, that we're modeling for people.
And I think that's one of the reasons you and I had decided to do this live, right? Is because mm-hmm. we have these amazing conversations, and it's like, like this is the humanness of what we actually talk about and what we're going through. And so to be able to share that has been, amazing. And mm-hmm. and just something you said right there made me think about, how as a public figure, which I never really think of myself as a public figure, but people seem to know who I am. So I guess I am. But, you kind of get put on that pedestal sometimes, like you're above. Or, I had somebody the other day that I was talking to, and they're like, oh my God, I couldn't believe I got to meet you. And I was like, what? Why? And I'm like, just a person, and it's just like, I'm just a person doing what I feel is best for my life, and hopefully helping other people along the way. Mm-hmm. And that's all I want to do. I'm not here to be that celebrity, and I'm here to help people because I see how it's helped myself, but it also, as I help people, it helps me because I see through other people's eyes the journey they're taking, and like, oh yeah, I've totally done that. I didn't think about that, that aspect of it, or, different things like that. Mm-hmm. And so we learn off of each other. And so when we're put on this pedestal, and then heaven forbid, I get sick, and then it's like, well, you shouldn't get sick because, you're spiritual, or you're, a healer, then I fall from that pedestal for maybe that person, or, and it's like, but I shouldn't have been on that pedestal in the first place. Just a person.
Yeah. I think that's our culture kind of does that too, that's a really interesting aspect of the work that we do too. And what it just kind of demonstrates our mindset, our collective mindset, around position and hierarchy. And I think we talked about hierarchy in one of our other conversations, which, what it really means, there is a divine order to things, and it's not about being better than, in our world where everything's like not in where we're in competition. We've got an underlying current of competition, not cooperation. The pedestal has to exist in that framework, right? And so when you I love that we're going down this road, or how things unfold, maybe in my mind, in your mind, and how we're kind of co-creating this together. But like cooperation and competition can coexist. It's just how we call competition, and what, is there a certain, maybe we start calling it cooperative competition, where you're doing something, and instead of me getting all jealous and, offended or guarded or whatever I'm going to feel about you showing what's possible, I go, wow, she's showing me what's possible. And I get to do that too. Right. And it's really interesting because I know that out there too, some people are telling the story about why I'm not putting my stuff out into the world, because I don't want someone to steal it. That's that competition, right?
We've been talking about that a lot lately. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. I love it. Right. Yeah. But what's the reality? The reality is we are all one mind. Right. And I was reading something over the weekend that illustrated it. Like I had a picture in my head about it. And it's like spiritually, we're one big spiritual entity. And then we decided as this one big spiritual entity to fill these individual bodies, not just these bodies, but like everything in the universe. It's everything and it's nothing all at the same time. It's that paradox, right? Yeah. So like, if you're thinking like, oh, I had this idea and I'm not going to put it out there yet because someone's going to steal it. Well, guess what? It's out there. And so if you picked it up, someone else is going to pick it up and someone's going to run with it if it's not going to be you.
Yeah.
And so you can tell the story that someone stole it from you, but I want to know how.
Yes. And, this has come up so many times lately, and we've been talking about this a lot with talking about, the energies of the masculine and feminine and all of that. But I hear this a lot from people that they don't want to share because, someone will steal their idea, or, they're not ready. They have to get it perfect before. And it's like, all of those things are not right. That's not how it works. Say it's right or wrong. It's not how it works. And
it just doesn't work that
way. Just like when, you and I consistently have similar programs that we don't talk to each other about until we're doing them. And then we're like, oh, this is what I'm doing. Yeah. Oh, me too. I'm doing the exact same thing, but we're doing it our own way. Yeah. We come at it from a different angle. Yes, we have a lot of similarities, as you can see when we talk together, but we're still totally different. And we have different clients. We have some similar clients as well. Hi, Kristen. But we have other, so there's people that are, they find what they need within each person. And I don't even want to say leader, because I don't even feel like a leader, but like whatever information you need, the teacher will be there, right? In the moment. And so, and that's one of the reasons that I love collaborative work and bringing people together, is because, look, I'm going to bring all of these people together for you. And then you can come to one place and see what speaks to you. Great if it's me, but if it's not, you're going to find the healing and the work that you need. Right. And that's what I love about the collaboration. And I'm never afraid that someone's going to steal my idea, because they're never going to do it the same way I would do it.
Yeah. You totally see that in what you've created too. Like I actually every time I get a little ping from Heartbeat, it reminds me of how expert, you probably don't feel that way, but how expert you are at creating community. And it's one of the things I really dig about you is that, you just, because of how you're working in the world, you're not going out to say like, okay, I'm going to be the leader of this amazing community. What I hear is you're coming from your passion of collaboration And that's the driver of what you're creating. So it's natural. I want to collaborate with people. I want to create in community. So it's like this natural expression. Of course, it's going to be a community where everybody loves to be in. There's just so much activity in that heartbeat community. It's quite amazing. I want to read what Kristen Booth has written. She says, learning from both of you, I see you both growing your company so much, and you're both realizing that you need to trust someone behind the scenes to delegate it. Seems hard. It's also the explosion of this whole new divine feminine perspective. Everyone is getting the downloads. Yeah, absolutely. Everyone's getting the downloads.
And like literally the week that I got mine, like, for the whole program, there was at least six that showed up in my inbox that week. And I was like, wow. And my first thought was, should I do this? And then I was like, well, of course I should, because we obviously need it, because everybody's got the same download. We need to be doing this. So it was like, yes, this is the work we need to do. And that's exactly it. Right?
Yep. So, it's trusting the process. And this is, part of the art thing. And this is what I love too, is like, when I'm doodling, if I'm listening to somebody and I get a download of something and I go, oh, that would make a really cool program. I always get like a little symbol or something like that, that I try to incorporate in my marketing. So it shows up. But like you said, like the latest thing that came through was quantum creativity. I'm like, oh yeah, because I'm thinking about doing something. And I just actually started like a little free program where we're meeting every week to paint. And I'm playing in it. It's just a way for me to improv. I'm not showing up with any lesson plan. It's free. I'm not teaching, but I am teaching because it's like whatever's in the moment comes out. And it's just a great place for me to play and stretch creatively while others get to do the same thing. And it's kind of leading me into like, oh yeah, like that quantum creativity, like that's really cool. And then, I say it, I look in my inbox and there's like a summit from somebody, quantum creation. I'm like, of course, does that mean does that mean that I don't do it? No, maybe that's not the right, title that I'm going for. It hasn't really dropped in yet, but I did get a very cool image of a womb with a cosmic, something cosmic coming through it. And, it's based on other things that I've been seeing in consciousness. And part of it is where, it's something I was reading about, our reproductive rights and how they're trying to control that. And I have been really sitting on that when I'm like, isn't this interesting? Like all the work that we've been doing collectively, I can't say like I've been doing it, but like collectively that's been being done for years of setting us free to create. And the function our body naturally does as women, we create life and we give birth, and that wants to be controlled. But yet the gun situation, like once they're born, once the kid's born, well, go ahead, put a gun in their hand and let them fight it out in the street, because that's okay. We want our rights to have guns, but you women know you don't get to have your right to create. And I started really feeling into the archetype of that and what chakra is involved in that, and that's our sacral chakra. It's our creative center. It's our womb space. It's the symbolism of that, like just like really hit me hard. And I just started seeing all these images in my mind of like rainbow colored wombs with, ovaries, that, and how that does look. It does look like
I can literally see it. I can see it. And
it looks like the goddess, right? It looks like the goddess when you kind of like squint your eyes and look at the shape of it. It's kind of the goddess shape. I started seeing it everywhere. Like yesterday I made pancakes for breakfast and I poured some syrup on it and I took a picture of it because it just looked like that shape. And like, there it is again.
So you're getting it again. Here it is.
Yeah. So
I pay attention to that.
It's that co-creation with the universe. So it's like I am in like a conversation with some other part of me that, that's unseen, that is helping me release that medicine that I was talking about earlier. And is this the one and done, the pinnacle of what I'm creating? No, it's like one more piece. And I love that our businesses, like as much as we fight with them sometimes, they're like our works of art. They're like, they're living sculptures, you know, that we get to try things out. And I think that's part of like, when I started shifting my mind around, that's what I'm really doing. And so even that, like, I don't like to do that. Like, where don't I like to do stuff in a painting? Like, this guy here, he's taken me forever because he's so like, he's got that intricate pattern on his head.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why did I do that?
Because you needed to, but
it's exhausting.
it's true. There's another comment from Kristen. Thank you, Kristen. All the teachers, all of you teachers may share the downloads, but you have such different ways of teaching them. And that's exactly it. And that's exactly it, right? When we, and that's the great thing. If we all get the downloads at the same time, it's okay. It just means it's information that needs to get out there. It's something that needs to be shared because we're all getting that download to share it. That doesn't stop us. It doesn't mean somebody stole my idea, that I got in the middle of the night, and somebody put it out, a day before I did, because, well, where did they get my idea from? They stole it. Were they reading my, my emails? No, they have the same download I did. And obviously it needs to be shared, and let's get it out there.
Yep. Yeah. One of the things I learned from you too, and I don't know if you know this, I learned this from you, is like, you said, so I'm trying to remember one of the times we talked, I think it was just before we started doing this, you were like, oh, I got to do this like right now, or it's not going to get done. And I'm learning, you said, I'm learning that when I get that nudge from spirit, I'm going right for it. And I'm like, yeah, like that's inspirational to me. That inspires me to not second guess myself when I get that hit, just be in the action. It's like where, that delay time that I have, because I'm an analyzer. I love to sit and analyze things. And so while I'm sitting there analyzing, like, how this, like, what color, you're like, oh, what should the banner look like? Because I mean, that to me, I'm like starting to notice, like, well, this is how I distract myself, because I love creating like the banner part of it,
graphics and all of
the
that.
Graphics. Yeah. So that's the easy part. Well, let me go do that. And let me spend like 2 days, like, fiddling, whatevering around with it. Yeah.
It's so
Meanwhile,
true. The other pieces, it's like, and it doesn't get done. But just what you were saying about that, because I have learned over time, when I get that download, if I don't deal with it, somebody else gets it at the same time. And sometimes it's not a collaboration and we're all putting it out there. Sometimes it's an amazing idea that people make millions of dollars off of.
Right.
And I had the idea and I was like, I didn't do anything with it. You know how many times that's happened to me in my life?
Probably a lot.
So, I would love that $1 million idea now. But now that I'm actually, have that follow through to do things, but $1 million idea would be good.
Greg Braden tells a story about like a musician friend of his that he was visiting, and they were, I guess, driving in a car or whatever, and a song came on the radio, and his friend goes, "Oh my God, that's my song. That's my song." And the backstory to that is like this song, he's been working on it for years, perfecting it, tweaking it, is it ready to go out yet? No, I still got to work on it. And there he is.
Somebody else did it already.
And it was a really good song, it just teaches us a lesson, of, stay in the action. And I think that's part of it as artists too, because we are on that frontier of getting those downloads, getting those that, we're in the creative flow of things. And that's when you're in that creative flow, we get more creative, and that's kind of what I want to teach people, not just wait for the muse to come and visit. I know some people that will go like, oh yeah, well, I only create when I'm in the mood to create. And it's like, no, you got to create all the time.
Create all the time to keep that creation and that creativity fed, right?
Yeah.
Imagine if creativity.
Yeah, exactly. Imagine if you go, well, I'm only going to go walking when I feel like it. you would never be able to walk.
Yes.
Your
No.
muscles would atrophy. And that's kind of the same. It's the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it is absolutely the same thing. Um, Kristen just asked, so how do you guys monetize your teaching? Well, we pay you to come to us. How do we monetize it? By putting certain things out there that are, I love the collaborative and the free, because I think it's important for people to have that creative. I think that's really good, Kristen.
Mm-hmm.
But, we do have to make a living. And so there are some things that we have to charge for, whether we like it or not,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it maybe having people understand that too, that, I love sharing. I want things to be accessible to people. I have scholarships. I do free summits. I have so many free things, and low cost things, but sometimes I have to pay my bills too. Right. And so, having people sort of understand that I want to give everything to you, but I physically cannot, because in this world, money is how we survive, whether we like it or not. Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's the currency of our culture.
Yeah.
Like literally the currency of our culture.
I'm going to throw a little different spin on that too, because this is kind of what I'm learning, because I've actually put some stuff out there that I'm charging for. And then I did this free event that I'm doing for 9 weeks. And it was really interesting to me, because I'm like, let's just see what happens. Because I was doing a ton of free stuff, and it does get exhausting, financially exhausting, because it costs money to do the back end stuff. I'm not going to learn how to do that, because it's either going to cost me in time or it's going to cost me in money.
Yeah. And
so I got to this point, and I actually worked with this woman, Larissa, who is a production manager. And she did this, spend a day with me and, learn how to do this kind of thing. And so some of it is getting us out of the mindset that people can't afford. And that's it. And we need to be stretched. There's a certain value. This is what I'm learning in my own walk, is valuing my work and valuing myself. And that what I have to offer does have value, and that I do get to charge for that. And it's even kind of goes beyond I need to put mac and cheese on my table and help other people. Right. I'm starting to see it from a perspective of if I don't challenge people to get out of the free mentality that's out there, then they're not stretching and they're not growing, because they're going to get something for nothing. And that's if they show up for it, because people are really great at signing up for the free stuff, but then it just gets showing up. The replay goes in some file somewhere, or it just gets deleted, and they don't show up for it, because there was no investment. There was no stretching. And I know for myself, when I hire a coach and I pay more for my coaching than what I charge, I'm really stretching myself. And what I'm stretching myself into is manifesting really more to come to me. Because I know for a fact that when I grow in that way, the universe meets me. The universe meets me, and I go, I don't know how I'm going to pay that bill, but something shifts. It's not a magic. It's not somebody shows up on my doorstep and hands me a wad of cash. No. I start getting more creative with what I put out there, and how I monetize, and what am I going to charge for this thing, and really fine tuning what is the vibrational frequency of what I'm teaching, and what's the value of it, and then charging that. And so I still have beliefs around that. So I know I'm blocking myself with people showing up. So I get to work through that in this business. And I don't know if that answered your question, Kristen.
Well, and she went on with that, but I just want to say something before we read that part of it. It's something I've worked on as well. And I've really shifted into not making the decision myself. So, I talk to spirit when I need to. And sometimes I've put a price on it, because I'm valuing myself, and I know that it's worth at least this. And then spirit will go, no, but certain people need it at this time. So this. Other times it's you're not charging enough. And so spirit will go, no, you need to charge more for that. So because I've sort of taken it out of my hands because I don't trust myself with that right now.
Mhm.
And so as I'm working through it, I'm trying to get more information to navigate it. And so I'm asking somebody else, which higher power, spirit, divine energy. I just need somebody other than me personally right here in the moment to, say, this is okay to do. It's okay to
Yeah.
do.
And it's funny, we call this connection with spirit, and you're just giving like the perfect experience.
Yes.
So Pam Vaughn writes, maybe you already said this, but when you say download or a hit, what does that feel like to you? How do you know, physical and mental? Great question. I love that.
That is a great question.
For me, when I get a download, it's very visual. I get symbols, I get, and I'll jot them down, and I know it is, I know it's a download because I'm not sitting there thinking about like trying to make something happen. It literally comes in like while I'm listening to somebody or reading, sometimes reading something where I'm reading a book, and I get inspired while I'm reading the book, and then I'll have to like close the book for a second, or if I'm on my phone, they kind of put it aside, and I'll talk to my husband, like how it landed with me, because it activated something of, we're always picking up information all the time. We're always receiving all kinds of information, but half of it, we're like, don't know what to do with it. And then you'll be reading something or hearing somebody talk like right now. And something will just be like something clicks within you, and you'll either get a picture, you'll get like, I have to tell somebody, what did you do? No, it just just landed for me. Right. That to me is a download. And we all get them all the time. And I'm glad you asked
whether or not you pay attention to them, right? Yeah. We all get them, and it's so easy to ignore them. They're those great ideas. They're those, wonder what would happen if, or if I shared this, or, what those things. So what I've learned now, Pam, is that I need to act on that. Like I need to do something with it, because it's fleeting sometimes. The download comes, and if you don't do something with it, you don't have to like act on it right in that moment, but I will write it down. Typically, I will send myself an email. So it often happens at night when I'm in bed.
Email to self.
Sometimes in the middle of, how many emails I've sent to myself? Like it's crazy. So I have these emails that I send to myself, because I can just like jot notes down really quickly. I can do it at 3 a.m. I can do it, if I'm out and about. If I'm at my desk, I'll just write things down. I have pages and pages, and then I have a spreadsheet, because I'm a spreadsheet girl, that I put them in, and then sort of figure out how much information I've got for it. Can I still move forward with it? Is it too late? Did I miss the window of opportunity? And some of them come hard and fast, and you're like, oh, I got to do something with that right now. Others are like, oh, that's a cool idea, but it's not, the urgency isn't there, and you can sense that. Right? You can sense that it's not urgent, but it comes with paying attention, right? It comes with learning to tune in and listen to spirit, and trust yourself, and trust your gut, your intuition.
Yeah. And that is part of like staying in that creative flow too, because we create with the whole universe. So right now I'm thinking of like Carl Jung and his idea of synchronicities. And then there's Robert Moss, who talks a lot about Carl Jung, and he has all these books about sidewalk oracles and, conscious dreaming and all that kind of stuff. And it's really like, when you go out for a walk, set an intention to see something and see what shows up for you. Start playing with it. Or if you don't have an intention, like come up with like, this always happens too. So when you have some sort of problem, your mind's working on something. So maybe it's like a creative thing. How am I going to position this? If you're a business owner, how am I going to position this so it sells? And you just kind of let it run in the background. And then you go out for a walk. If you start paying attention to a truck that goes by, what kind of truck was that? What was the license plate? What was the name on the side? You'll start seeing things that are very much synchronous, like the pancake syrup. The pancake syrup is an example of that. Like it just poured in the divine feminine shape. Yeah. The womb space.
Yeah.
Right. You'll start seeing that. And then it's like, then you start to realize, oh, this is conscious creativity on steroids. So this is beyond the canvas. This is beyond the, sketchbook. Because now we're creating on a grander canvas of life. And we're not only that, we're getting feedback from the playful universe that we live in. Right. It's amazing.
Yeah. And it comes down to that paying attention. I just want to jump back because Kristen wanted to refine her question. And I think we still answered it, Kristen, about why do we not charge more? It comes down to our belief systems and working through that.
Okay.
So it's that
is a different question entirely.
And then she did say, I probably shouldn't ask it since I take learnings from both of you. And there is something, like just coming back to the money thing for a second, there is something to the fact that, people aspire to, these $5,000 day coaching sessions and things like that. I know people who charge that. And so then I'm like, okay, like, yeah, am I worth that? I probably am. Do I feel comfortable in that? No. Why don't I feel comfortable in that? So is it like conditioning? Is it I don't feel worthy? So I start to go through all of the like whys of that. And it's like, no, because I think that the big thing for me is I don't aspire to our cultural belief system of the must produce, must make money. Yes, a comfortable life, because money is needed. But I think I feel pretty solid in this answer that I don't want to deal with the people who have the $5,000 for a day of coaching. Those are not the people I want to deal with. Those are not the people that I want to, that I feel connected to helping. I feel connected to helping people who have come through the same path that I've come through and have struggled with, mental health issues and traumas in their life that have held them back to allow them to move forward. And maybe it's a bias, and maybe it's a messed up belief system. I'm not sure, but I don't feel comfortable in the Cashmere and Pearls, Kristen, space. And it's not a worthiness, because I can hang out with anyone. It's I don't like and I'm generalizing here. There are so many people with money who are not like this. I'm totally generalizing. But typically we see money and arrogance and
privilege,
ego and privilege and those things. And so I'm not, and I know it's not the money. I know it's not the money. It's our cultural belief system. So it's not that I'm opposed to the money. I want to frame this in such a way that I'm not, okay. It's not the people. It's not the people in particular, but the energy that goes with that privilege is completely different than people who have struggled and worked towards something and need that extra help to move forward. Does that make sense?
I hear where you're going with that. I do hear where you're going.
I don't think I'm explaining it well.
No, you are. It's landing with me, because at first I was a little kind of, I would ask you, well, would you pay for that? Yeah. Would you do that?
Yeah.
And then I look at myself and I go, I know how motivated I am for growth and what I've paid for in my life to get well. And, so I asked that question. I go, would I pay for that? Is it a stretch for me to come up with that money? Before I before I came to Sedona to work at Therapy on the Rocks, I was a patient there. And I paid about $10,000 for treatment, you know, but I got really well. I got really better. And I put it on my credit card and I paid it off.
Yeah.
Is what I did because it was what I valued. And that was how I determined that. Would it be different if John took pity on me and said, oh, well, I know you can't afford that, so I'm going to give you a discount? I don't know. I didn't have that experience. I think there's no right or wrong to this. I think there's just what your soul is guiding you to do and who you are showing up as. And I feel like I grew up in a town that was all full of privilege, and I was not the one that was privileged. So I had a huge chip on my shoulder around that, that like, you're making fun of me because I don't have the fancy clothes and shoes that you have, that your parents bought you, and that makes you better than me. Okay, I get it. So, and I ended up opening up my first practice in that same town where I was treating a lot of wealthy people. And what was interesting, some people were really awesome to work with, and they really got that they needed to participate in the healing. And some people were kind of treating it like, well, you're just like akin to the maid. You're going to come in and change the dirty laundry. But to me, like, as much as I didn't like working on that person as much, I had enough other people coming in that really wanted to get better, that were invested in their own health and getting well, and seeing that they needed to participate in that. While that other section of people that I was more like the maid, was like, I had to look at that too, and kind of, it actually helped shift my perspective, because I am who I say I am, not who the person paying me says I am. And if I'm showing up as this, I had a couple of people that I ran into issues with, because when I got them to that place where they were in a healing crisis or something came up that they didn't want to look at because this work is going to get you there, right? Then I was the bad guy and I'm leaving you. That's okay. Good. Because now you just made room for somebody else. Right.
And that's it's a really good point. And as I move through what I'm doing, I find my prices fluctuate. Like sometimes I have free, sometimes I have this, sometimes, my prices fluctuate all over the place. And part of it is, sort of what spirit is directing me for that, who needs to be there for that. Part of it is sort of, as a business, sort of figuring things out where things should land. And I do recognize that I have a bias around the type of people, if you will, because I know they're not all like that. I know lots of very wealthy people that are not like that. Yeah. So that's not like it's a way over generalization that I feel that way. I just want to help people ultimately. Right. I do offer things for free, but if you want to work with me, there has to be more. It has to be an investment on your part. Yes. Because, and that can be in different ways. I have made, agreements with people in different ways. I don't typically offer that, because if you want something, you come to me, right? You need to put the energy into that. And so that's an important part of it. I do offer scholarships. I don't have them plastered all over my front page. You have to basically ask for them. They are on the website, but they're not easily found, because although now we have everybody, and then, so that I can, and I ask some questions. I don't ask what your income is. I don't ask why you can't afford it, but I want to know what you're going to get out of this. What are you going to do with it? Yeah. What are you going to do with this? Because, if you just want it because you want to have it, no, that's not a good enough reason for me to give it to you for free. Right. Or for a less rate. If you're going to work with it, then yes, I will work with you. Right. And I have no problem with that. But there are things, yes, I definitely will charge more money for, depending on what it is and And we got into this whole money thing, which is really interesting. And I just want to see what the other comments here. Elaine came in. Hi, Elaine. She says, I love what you both do. Was in Deborah's class this morning. Yep. She was here from the start, but she couldn't chat. Okay. And Kristen, yes. Cashmere and pearls. I know it's a running joke. Yours, not mine, yours. And yeah, it is yours. And Elaine, plastic and fleece is me. No, that's a mindset, Elaine. And we can talk more about that, but I know I've mentioned that to you before. That's a mindset. And
it's really interesting when you work with people a lot, and as we do, it's easy to feel the energy around what's a mindset and what's actual. And I think that also plays into what you're saying about knowing who you'll give a scholarship to if they're asking, because there's an intuitive process to that too. And you're feeling into, this is something that I do a lot too, is you're feeling into their soul's purpose, and asking their higher self, is this the right thing for them? Is not that you're the deciding factor of that. Like, I don't want to sound like, oh, I'm the guru of, who gets and who doesn't. But I mean, there's a certain thing. I might not be the one to gift that to that person, but maybe I have something to offer, that there needs to be that energetic exchange. And I think what we need to get the mindset shift around is that, yes, money is energy. And it takes a lot of work to get that. And it's not just a gift, and it's not just for some people, and it's not just for those who have wealthy parents who can afford it's
for really everybody, cool, and there's cool enough clothes for everybody.
It is. It's seeing that enough, and it's not more than enough. Where in our society too, there's the hoarding, right? The top 1% of that's how it's almost like the way I visualize that is like there's this big pool of energy. And because I am who I am and how I was born into it, this is what we're going to do. We're going to hold on to it because that's our power. And then we're going to leak it out. And you guys can just, fight for it.
Fight for it.
Yeah. And we'll sit back and watch. But see that dynamic's changing, because the more we challenge our own mindset, our own beliefs around it, the more, it's scary. It's scary as all get out, because we're so tied to money being survival. We're in a survival mindset around it. When I think of how I grew up, I was always hearing, we can't afford it. We can't afford it. We can't afford it. But I had ice skating lessons. My brother played hockey, and you know how expensive hockey is in ice time, right? And I think about the stuff that I actually got to do as a kid, that if I really listened to what my parents were saying, we were poverty stricken.
And that's the mindset part of it, right? Because that lack has been cultural, and brought down, I think probably started the worst through the Depression, and then has really just never sort of recovered. I think it's starting to recover, but it's taken this long. So what was that, the 30s? And here we are 100 years later, and, we're just starting to dig ourselves out of that belief system.
Yeah.
And because there is more than enough for everyone. You wouldn't know that by the way some have chosen to behave in the world. I watch, and I know we should probably wrap up pretty quickly, but just on this topic, I watched this great YouTube channel called Yes Theory. And they're basically all about saying yes, right? So they'll try, and they go to the most amazing countries and meet the most amazing people. And, they say that the places that their people won't take their money, they want to just give and give, will feed them, and are the poorest places, the places that nobody goes to, the places that, and then we have our sort of North American culture of, we have to hoard it all because we must have more. So we must hang on to it. So there's a lack. Like even the richest people feel lack because of the way our culture is. Right? They don't feel they have enough. And that's why they're hoarding it all.
I think of my mother-in-law who's sitting on millions of dollars that she is literally, she does not get, she even says like it's monopoly money. And what happened is that they bought a house on Cape Cod back in, I don't know, 70s or 80s when real estate was really low, and sold it for over $1 million, like I think $3 million because of where it was. And like, what a return investment. I think they paid $100,000 for it. But she's like, oh, it's monopoly money, but she doesn't get what she has. And she's hoarding it. She's totally hoarding it. And what she does too, is she like dangles it over her son, and and I'm just kind of like, yeah, don't need it. I love that yes theory. When we really like connection with spirit, right? Trust your connection with spirit. That's the walk, man. Because when spirit is guiding you to do something and you're saying yes, you get to move through those belief systems where, well, I can't because I don't have enough time. I can't because I don't have enough money. We get to see that, like, that's how we grow as a culture, and we grow out of that and mindset. Personally,
right? How important is it to you, and what will you do to make it happen? Maybe you don't have enough money, but is there something else you could do? Or is there another way to get the money? Or is there, maybe you don't have enough time, perceived time. It's all perception, right?
Yep.
It's all perception.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. We've gone over our time now, and it just goes so fast. It's like, how does that even happen? So any final words as we wrap up today?
Oh my gosh. If I have final words, we'll just go for another hour. So I'm just going to save it for next time. Actually, there is something I wanted to say. We're going to be on a live together on the 31st with the 31st. A few other wonderful mentors and goddesses in the Life is Art. Release Your Magic Medicine.
Yes, we just started promoting today.
Release the magical medicine of your imagination and create the life that you love. And it's on Samhain, and it's going to be amazing because it's going to be ceremonial and magical with all these really great women. I'm super excited because you're doing like a group live with all of us, and that's super exciting. I also on Samhain, the 31st, have my ritual celebration. We do it at noon on the day of whatever celebration it is. So, but I'm super excited about yours because we get to like have great conversation with a group of us. So that'll be awesome. Yeah, and it's free. Yours is free. Mine is on. Yours is free. So get on our email list, find a way to sign up. And I know a couple of you who are watching us right now have done that already. So it's really cool. Yay. But yeah, I just had to say I was super excited about getting to talk with you in a group.
I am super excited
all of our favorite things.
Exactly. Well, thank you to everyone who has been here today and anyone who is going to be watching in the replay. We just come on and talk. This is how we hang out together. Like, this is literally what we do. Anytime we have to get together for work, we spend 45 minutes or so doing this. And so we were like, we need to share this because we just have amazing conversations. So, so thank you. There's a few thank yous in there. Kristen, Pam, Elaine, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for commenting, letting us know, asking questions. We love that. So
yeah, it was really great and participatory. I love it.
Love it. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.